Hi there, just a video about what's next for English cricket and what English cricket can do to kind of resuscitate or resurrect itself from the kind of pretty perilous state it's in at the moment. I'm just going to go through a number of things that they really need to do. Now, the first thing they have to do is get rid of Gould Thompson, Key and McCollum. That is an absolute must. So, Gould and Thompson were actually quite successful at Surrey. However, they committed the kind of cardinal sin of coming into the ECB and selling the game off, effectively putting like a red light above the game and selling it off to Indian and American businessmen in the shape of the hundred. This has detrimental effects for the smaller counties, for the international summer. There's no international cricket in August anymore. And apart from that, is a completely awful form of the game. It also has caused a transition in this country from cricket being a sport to an entertainment. And so, for all those reasons, Gordon Thompson should go. But on top of that, they're pretty useless at hiring and firing. After the last Ashes, after that debacle, McCollum and Key should have been sacked. Gordon Thompson dithered, and they remained in place. The consequence is that England lost the home series to New Zealand, the first three Test home series they've lost for 14 years, I think. And also that Stokes is now gone. So those guys have to go. Key is the luckiest man in the world, I think. I mean, he's retained his place in the job despite continual failure, simply because he has friends in the media who have kind of protected him and not given him the scrutiny that they have previous incumbents. And McCollum is an ordinary coach who hasn't improved anyone, um, and has actually got worse year on year. So if you look at him in 2022 compared to now, he was limited in 2022, but at least was winning games against average sides. Now he can't even do that. So they must get rid of those three. They must employ someone like Stewart in Key's role and someone like Kirsten Langer, or even a return of Andy Flower, our best ever coach, um, in McCollum's role, and then they can pick the captain and they can decide um, on a way forward. And so whoever those guys picked as captain, I'd have complete faith in because they know their cricket. The second thing is they must draw up a list of aims so that we can scrutinise them properly. Key and McCollum marked their own homework in terms of saying results didn't matter. Key was very critical of the Silverwood era when England were losing games. But when he got in, all of a sudden results didn't matter and it was just about entertainment. This cannot be the case. And you cannot have a situation again where Stokes, McCollum, Key say the World Test Championship doesn't matter or they're not interested in it, so it doesn't matter. That is not um, elite level kind of leadership. I mean, it is the main trophy in Test cricket. It's a way of giving a context to a Test series that now don't seem to matter as much. And England should really try to win it, especially as they host the finals. So the next manager has to do that. Has to have a name. He must try and win that. Try to win the Ashes. Try to win a series against India. Um, and that has to be the aim. Next thing is the players. There has to be a move away from handing out kind of caps like confetti or picking people um, just as a kind of just in terms of you liking them in a sense. So Crawley, Bashir, Pope to a lesser extent were giving caps when they didn't really warrant it, and the amount of caps that Crawley and Bashir have got compared to the actual output they've got and their ability is ridiculous, and that's only only really happened under McCollum and Key. This can never happen again. People must be selected on merit. And you cannot say, like Key and McCollum said, things like Crawley's not in the side to score runs. This is not acceptable. Okay, so the new manager has to do that, but also has to probably provide some tough love for people like Smith, Brook, etc., who are talented, but have kind of been infected by a virus, infected by kind of Basball virus, where they become entitled and more one dimensional. And he needs a new coach who can guide them in a proper way, guide them like a good teacher, rather than like kind of a uh, kind of a friend who's a bad influence. So it's got to be like that. Now they also have to, or there has to be um, a kind of change in the way the media and the ECB operate. The media can no longer be like an arm of the ECB. What that means is the ECB doesn't get any scrutiny, and all they're doing is acting as like spin doctors for the ECB rather than scrutinising them, or at least just reporting what they see. And you cannot have a case where people who worked with Rob Key are able to just kind of whitewash his failures. Um, or that people who want access to stories or whatever then give an easy ride to the coach. So if you look at Lawrence Booth's Basball um, book, it's a complete load of rubbish. And for someone who's an experienced cricket journalist, he must cringe at the kind of rubbish he wrote about Basball or the Basball Revolution, considering it was only done after a few series against sides who weren't Australia or India. Um, but it was considered a revolution, and it was completely premature, and it was almost seemingly like uh, giving praise so that you get access. This is also the case for Wisden on the whole, I would say. If you look at the early years of Basball and people like Phil Walker, uh, there isn't the kind of analysis or scrutiny you'd expect from someone who does know a lot about cricket. And it's almost like they've got a line to push or a line to kind of hold in the same way they have about the 100. Okay, so that has to change. Next, that there has to be some way of lessening the damage of the 100. Now it's been sold off, it's harder to control, but there's got to be a way of kind of protecting the integrity of the county game and also protecting the integrity of the English summer so that there is county and international cricket played when it's actually hot and when kids are on holiday so that they actually get attracted to the game rather than um, in April or September when it's cold and when it's wet, all for the 100. Um, so that's something that has to be done as well. There's got to be a kind of way they ameliorate that, um, and also in conjunction with those two things, they do need to get you do need to get the ECB to make a statement about whether cricket is now an entertainment or a sport. And if it is an entertainment, come clean, tell us, and we can all stop watching it. Because if it's just an entertainment, uh, it isn't as entertaining as something like a great series or book or film or theatre. The reason we're engaging cricket is because we have an attachment to a country, a side, a state, or whatever. You could not watch um, that, like a 100 game and just be entertained in the way you would by a great film. It's rubbish. So, um, they do kind of need to come clean. And if it is a case that it's just an entertainment, then there's no need to play as many tests as we do. If it's just a revenue stream, then just leave it then. So get and if it is a sport still, and we're still interested in winning things, set out a way of doing that and a plan. It might be, for instance, that we play too many test series or series that are too long in length and trying to reduce them to one or two in the manner that South Africa did, um, as a way of qualifying for the World Test Championship final. Don't just stand there and say, you know, we're not interested in these things and we're just going to carry on regardless with our fingers in our ears. So, something like that would be important. Um, that there is also the price of tickets, which are ridiculous, and a general cretinisation of the game, I would say, that has to be dealt with. Cretinisation in terms of things like the 100 and the people making a living off the 100 who um, are doing so, to help their own bank balance is fair enough. But we've all got to get a job. But a lot of those kind of statisticians on the radio, they don't really care about the future of English cricket or whether England wins or not. They're just happy coming up with statistics about something no one gives a monkeys about. Um, uh, so statisticians, the useless commentary teams, and maybe if we want cricket to be a serious sport again, have cricket commentators who are there for actual cricket output rather than to tick, certain boxes. I mean, I won't name names, but I don't know if anyone heard Radio 4 the other day, or Test Match Special. There was a female commentator on there who didn't know who Brian Close was. Now that he's quite a famous cricketer, and if you're just employing people to tick a box who don't actually know about the game, know about the men's game, this person might well have known about the women's game. Don't have them on the men's game, and that doesn't mean specifically all women commentators. Mel Jones is very good, so just make sure that the commentators do actually know about what they're talking about. So it's making the game more serious. It's having a proper plan of how to achieve success, and it's making sure that the media act like the media, and not a client media or press spokesman. So if they do a number of these things, they will kind of start to improve. So some of these things are long term, some of these things are short term. I mean, if they got Stuart and Kirsten in, they would improve in the short term anyway. But I just think for the long term good of the game, the good of these other things were done in English cricket as well.